That's a lot of stuff to keep up. Now, joining us to explain what's next for Nintendo and Niantic is Kyle Orland. Kyle is a senior gaming editor at Ars Technica?
Ars Technica. Kyle
Orland. Tell me a bit about what's going on. I mean, this took off last year. Everybody played it. You couldn't walk down the street without people doing this at all hours. So how far have we come in 1 year, and how has it affected Nintendo?
Yeah, so it was really a huge fad when it came out. Kind of everyone got into it really quickly. And it's kind of declined from there. It's about 5 million players now, about a quarter of what it was at its top. For Nintendo itself, I don't think Pokemon Go has been as big a deal as the Nintendo Switch recently, coming out in March. That has really shot Nintendo's stock up in the business community.
And the challenge, obviously, keeping it there. Has it done enough to convince people that its value is there?
I think so. Right now, you can't find a Nintendo Switch on store shelves anywhere that you look. Nintendo has tried to increase supply. They said they're going to have 10 million by the end of the fiscal year, which would be a very good first step. Their last system, the Wii U, didn't do that well after coming out in 2012. It kind of hobbled along for a few years there, and the Switch has gotten people really excited again. It's a kind of system you can put in your TV to play and then just take it with you. It's got a really light form factor, and Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, as mentioned in the piece, has really been pushing people to get it.
Let's talk about how Nintendo gets all the buzz, but what about the game's developer? Tell me the significance of that, and how has the stock rebounded?
Niantic, you mean, for Pokemon Go? Yeah. Nintendo got a lot of attention because they're the Pokemon company. They're the ones that are associated with it, but they only have a partial stake in Pokemon Go. And once people realized that, the stock, as you mentioned, did go down quite a bit. I feel like Pokemon Go kind of took Nintendo by surprise. They didn't really know what they had in the mobile market. They've always made their own hardware and made games for that. They're putting their toe into mobile software a little bit more with games like Super Mario Run and Fire Emblem game. Those haven't really caught on nearly as much as Pokemon Go did, and I think a large part of that is because Niantic knows what it's doing in this space. Nintendo is really just getting in there and doesn't really know.
Nintendo, though, 40 years, they've had the staying power. Do you think that they have this technology to move forward beyond keeping a toe in the water?
Yeah, it's funny. Nintendo has really been a game company that stood the test of time. There've been dips in there. You know, the GameCube didn't do quite as well, and then the Wii was a huge, big fad hit, and then that kind of died away as people got tired of, you know, swinging the remote around and standing on the Wii Fit balance board. People said it's a fad, and then the Wii U didn't do so well, and now the Switch comes back again, and it's a big hit again, and it's getting Wii-like buzz with shortages in stores and everything like that. So even when Nintendo is down, you really can't count them out.
You know, in following issues like this in the market, this is where it becomes important to look at what is a trend as opposed to a fad.
Right.
Do you think Nintendo has learned?
That's a tough question. I think Nintendo will always come around to a new idea that will keep them in the market. They're always willing to try new things, and those new things won't always work out. The Wii U, for instance, had its own little tablet. It had a screen in it, but it had to be tethered to a local base station. You could only play it inside your house. It was bulky, but by learning through that, they came to the Switch, which has really caught on with the market and been a completely new thing that people obviously want. So I think their experimental nature will lead to some big successes and also some failures.
Yeah, I have to ask you this. Does Nintendo see itself as a gaming company or a hardware company? To me, that's really interesting right now.
Yeah, I feel like they're a gaming company first, and they make hardware so they can make the games that they want. Now, that being said, they've realized that everybody has a phone in their pocket, and that's just too big of an audience to ignore. So they're dipping their toe into that mobile area, but I don't really think they know what they're doing there yet. They need a little more time to really get their bearings.
Amazing. And you know, you think about Super Mario, and you think about that staying power.
Sure.
That has generational support. Can Nintendo continue to build on this, or is it going to need to come up with something like a Pokemon Go?
I feel like their old franchises are the ones that are really driving things, but they have come up with new things. Splatoon, which just came out in the last few years, is coming out with a sequel, Splatoon 2, in the coming days. And that's been a huge hit with younger audiences. New game for the Switch, Arms, has been really great. Art direction has kind of driven it to be get its own interesting fan base. So I think they are trying new things. They're not just relying on those older franchises, even if that's their bread and butter.
You know, it seems like the kids in Japan always on the cutting edge of this. And last year, this was in the top 10 sales for, or actually this year in 2017. Is this success a blip, or is it the kind of thing Nintendo can build on?
I think it's not a blip. It will last. I think the Switch will provide a good base for at least the next few years. Projecting out past that, once the hardware starts getting a little older, once Sony and Microsoft start coming out with their own new consoles, hard to project. But
you know, I don't see people in malls doing this anymore, so we'll have to see just how popular this stays. Kyle Orland, thanks very much. We appreciate your insight.
Thank you.